Coming up today on The Story.
Immediately when I became a Christian, it was so exciting to me and it was so new to me that I just wanted everyone to know what I know now. And of course, the first neighbor to me was our Czech community in Los Angeles. So I started immediately writing a book, and then the book actually arrived to the hands of the leader of the Czech broadcasting of Transworld Radio.
The Story.
G'day, I'm Jimmy Colefax. Welcome to The Story. Well, today we have part 2 of Pavel and Klara Steiger's remarkable story. Last time, we learned about how they grew up living under atheistic communism in what was then known as Czechoslovakia. Also, we heard how they eventually became Christians after fleeing to the United States. This time, we're going to hear how, through a series of circumstances that God orchestrated, Pavel and Klara then go on to minister to people back in their home country without even being there. All that's coming up today as Pavel and Klara Steiger continue to retrace their life journey. Once again, they're chatting with Eric Scatterbo in our Melbourne studios.
Klara and Pavel Steiger, welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
Now, last time on the program, we heard about your growing up in Czechoslovakia, life under communism, and then how you emigrated to the United States in 1969 after the Prague Spring experience that you had there. And then eventually you put your faith in Jesus Christ in Los Angeles. And then your life started to change slowly but surely. Can you continue the journey for us?
Continuing the journey. Well, yeah, this was in 1978 and I was already 37 years old then, so I was not the youngest guy. I was not old, but not the youngest. And immediately when I became a Christian, it was so exciting to me and it was so new to me that I just wanted everyone to know what I know now. And of course, the first neighbor to me was our Czech community in Los Angeles, because I mentioned last time that we were just getting together in that Sokol Hall and just camping out together. So I started immediately writing a book. I mean, I just it took me for 5 years because I was growing spiritually and so on. So from 78 till 84 it was actually published. So it's more than 6 years actually it took before I finished that. And even now I probably am not much promoting the book, because when I read it now, after 25 years later, I just don't want to even see myself, how strange it was. But anyway, the Lord knows that I did it because my heart was really burning for the Czech people. So that's what we did. And then it was published in 1984. And 1984, actually, I was transferred to Jakarta, Indonesia, from Los Angeles to Jakarta, Indonesia. And strange things happened. I had a little Volkswagen, the camper, and I always said, I will publish this book even if it costs me the Volkswagen, that I will sell it, and for the money we will publish it. And believe or not, it happened. I was transferred to Indonesia. We had to get rid of the car, so we sold the Volkswagen, and actually I took the check from the Volkswagen to the printer. I basically only endorsed it on the back, and then I had to a little bit more,
$100
about
or something,
or $100 or $200. I had to add to the check, and it paid for the printing the book. So for the Volkswagen, we had the book, and then it was sent around the Czech people, and actually we moved to Indonesia. And Klara's brother, who lives in Denver, he actually was the one who was mailing out the book. And then the book actually arrived to the hands of the leader or manager of the Czech broadcasting of Transworld Radio. And maybe now Klara could continue what happened then when the leader of or manager of the Czech broadcasting of Transworld Radio got a hand on the book.
Well, we got the first reaction from the Transworld Radio, and it was a positive reaction, and the request if we we would like to try to prepare the radio program for the broadcasting to Czechoslovakia. And we found out in Jakarta that there is a Christian studio. I think it was called Yaski. So Pavel wrote the first series of programs. We recorded them, and then they were mailed to Monte Carlo and broadcasted, and they were accepted, and since that time we were regular on the air with Transworld Radio. We were getting the responses from the listeners, and they were asking for transcripts of the programs. And so we said, what we are going to do with transcript, it's kind of unusual way to publish your programs. So we decided that we will edit the programs a little bit, and then we created kind of small format digest or publicized magazine, and we called it The Battle for the Soul, and it had 24 pages, and so we sent out the first about 50 copies, and people reacted again, and they wanted more. So we printed 100 of next issue and 200 of the next issue, and it went on, and it grew up that when we were leaving Indonesia, we were printing about 3,000 magazines, and it was difficult to get them into Czech Republic or Czechoslovakia then, because the censors were just controlling all the mail coming in and so on. So we had to be very creative. And with the help of many friends in Indonesia who traveled all around the world to their home countries or business-related trips and so on, they were hand-carrying always 5 envelopes to Australia, or 5 envelopes to Singapore, 5 envelopes to other countries, and they were mailing them. We always had to do the hand addressing, that it would not be suspicious that it's any kind of bulk mailing. And then we had even some diplomatic pouches were carrying our magazines into the country, so it was quite exciting. And at that time we kind of knew that our heart is really in the ministry, and heart was kind of aching and burning for Czech people. So we were hoping that one of these days we could move back, or move, let's say, to Austria and do the ministry from abroad and so on. But then came the end of the communism, and we had the opportunity to make a decision what to do next with our lives.
Yeah, I would like to say here that Jakarta was for us really a good place, and we grew up spiritually very much, and our ministry actually grew up. So I was full-time employed for the oil company, but all the spare time we spent basically on our ministry and in the local Baptist church. And I became the teacher of the adult Sunday school class, and I gained the self-confidence over there, because all the expatriates, the foreign engineers and workers and so on, they used to be, let's say, from France or from Netherlands or Canada or Australia or from Sweden or from Switzerland. So quite a few of them, we all spoke English, but lots of them had the same accent as I had. See, and I always had a little bit, the complex. How can I speak, in front of the native speakers, whose mother tongue is English, and I cannot do it, in front of them. But over there, I gained this self-confidence because they spoke as bad or as nicely as I do. See, and it just gave me the confidence, and I started. I easily could then preach and teach because I did not have the complex of my bad English.
Yes, and then from then on, we knew that it's a desire of our heart to go into the ministry, but we had little conditions, when you are kind of talking to the Lord what you would like to do and how to do it and so on. So at that time we were just saying, yes, we would like to go to the ministry, but first the children have to be out of college, and then we have to have the mortgage on the house paid off, and then it would be nice if we could get early retirement from the company, and then to have a health insurance and so on. And then came the year 1989, and that was fall of the communism throughout the Eastern Europe, and we knew that it's a major event an opportunity for us just to move into the full-time ministry. And so Pavel's job was at the end, his project ended, and we had the decision if to move back to the United States and look for another job within the company, or to quit the company and take the severance pay and leave and do what our heart desire is. And that was a prayer of all our church friends, that we would not get any job offer which would be too tempting to make our decision very hard. And so we left the company, and we were looking for the mission where we should go. And it did not work for us with Transworld Radio, because it was only the radio mission, and our mission was already, or our ministry was already developed so far that we had the radio programs and the magazine and the contact with people, and we would be limited in Transworld Radio. So we seeked for another mission, and we discovered HCJB. And when we presented our dreams and goals and ideas and so on, they always said, "Oh, that's a wonderful idea. Go for it, go for it, go for it." We had absolutely no obstacles in our creativity. And so we were so excited to join the HCJB. And so for 1 year, we went to Quito, Ecuador to know the mission better. And then we kind of got a lot of inspiration there, and the spiritual conditioning and everything was just so conducive. So it was a marvelous experience to be there. And then from there, we moved after 23 years back to our native country.
I just want to go back and tell to the listeners one thing, that as Klara, my wife, as she mentioned that we had quite a few conditions, to go to full-time ministry, and this is the problem when one has good life, to make the decision is very tough. It was easy to make for us the decision, quite a bigger one, to leave our country and to go with nothing and to start new life. While here in Jakarta we have quite nice life, and so we just had the conditions. We have to pay in full our home. We have to, have the kids out of the college and so on. So all these conditions. I just want to say to anybody who is listening that if we have too many conditions, we will never make the decision. And even if we fulfill the conditions, then there will be new conditions, and our life becomes so conditioned that we will never do what we want to do. We just have to once for all just break off and unconditionally just start doing what we are called for or what we want to do, because otherwise we will have always condition after condition, and if they are fulfilled, our heart will always find another one just to postpone the decision. So this is the most important thing I learned for my life, that if I want to do something, it should be unconditional. And even spiritually, the love of the Lord is unconditional, and we have to forgive our neighbors and our people who are around us unconditionally, because if we put conditions, we will never forgive. Right. So we should live the unconditional life.
Amen. And I think there are only 2 qualifications for the service for the Lord. It's to be willing and available. Everything else has to go aside, because without that we are just stomping the ground and not moving.
You're listening to The Story. Today, Eric Scatterbo is once again chatting with Pavel and Klara Steiger, who were originally from the Czech Republic, and as we've been hearing, they've been able to minister to people in their home country without even being there. Also, we heard how they just joined an organisation called HCJB World Radio, which is an international shortwave radio ministry that is now known as Reach Beyond. As a side note, this conversation was recorded in our studio located in the Reach Beyond Australia headquarters in Melbourne. Eric met them in the hallway when they were getting a tour of the building and quickly got them into the studio for an interview. Well, we'll hear more of Pavel and Klara's story when we return.